Hi everybody. So Rebecca and I are here. We're going to start doing a yoga vlog. It's like a blog, but with a video, a recording of us. So we're going to have different things that we're going to show. Maybe we'll do some movements, or we'll break down poses, or break down breath work. Or maybe if you've got particular yoga questions, feel free to send them to us through email, text, or on the website. Or even through social media. Let us know what those questions are, and we can figure out the answers for you. If we don't, we know people who can. But we will do our best to get those answered for you. So this is our first intro. So if you've never taken yoga with me and you don't know who I am, I'm Cheryl Herman. I have been teaching yoga formally for about 23, 24 years. So I actually started teaching yoga back in the 1980s. And, but we didn't call it yoga then. We lived in a small town in Middle Tennessee, and they were like, oh no, we can't call that yoga. So I did stretch and stress reduction classes and called them yoga, or didn't call them yoga rather. Anyway, so I've been teaching a very long time. I've been teaching health and fitness in many different formats: group fitness, personal training. I am a yoga therapist. I've been certified since 2010 in yoga therapy. That's a one-on-one practice. Think of it as personal training, except we do it with yoga principles. So one of the questions that somebody asked me was, what is the difference between taking a yoga class, taking just a private yoga class with a good teacher, and yoga therapy? Yoga therapy goes a little deeper. It isn't just movement practices. We teach meditation and deep relaxation. We also teach central nervous system work. We teach ways that you can incorporate yoga practice into your everyday life. And you can reduce stress and anxiety that way. It's certainly wonderful for the reduction of chronic pain. So it's a little bit different from a private class, but it's much different from a public class. There's not a lot of time for me to instruct everybody, all the different bodies, in how to best perform a posture or pose or movement for you, right? And some people aren't comfortable with the breath work. Again, they need maybe more concentrated instruction in how to do the breath work. Especially if we're talking about anxiety. Just simple breathing changes can trigger someone's anxiety if they're not used to breathing differently than what their body has been doing. So that can be better served to do that in a one-on-one setting too. So briefly, that's pretty much the difference between a yoga class and yoga therapy. Yoga therapy is much more concentrated on exactly what you need. So I'm going to turn this over to Rebecca, let her introduce herself, and then we'll do some stuff.
Hey, I'm Rebecca Weaver. I work with Cheryl at the Chattanooga Yoga Center. I help her with her social media and her emails, but also with kind of helping her see what some people are asking questions. And we have a few questions from some people who have never done yoga. So the first question we have is, what kind of yoga is it? Because they hear about hot yoga, goat yoga, every kind of yoga. So the first question is, what kind of yoga do you teach?
I teach a yoga that is what I call breath-centric. We breathe a lot in our classes, but I also teach classes from a place of comfort, right? And a place of ease. That doesn't mean it's easy, but I don't believe in putting undue stress on the body and the mind. So my room's never very hot. It may be warm once you get moving, but that's not the room, that's you. And that's a whole nother question we'll answer some other time. But if you're getting warm in my room is probably 70, 75 degrees. So it's not that hot. It certainly isn't the 100 degrees. So I don't teach hot yoga. I don't teach goat yoga. It's all fun, and those are things that are fun. Beer yoga is fun. But you have to ask yourself, is that yoga? If you're playing and goats are wandering around, you're not really focused on you. you're not focused on the movement or the breath, or your mind is wandering off onto watching somebody interact with the goats or drink their beer or whatever, you need to stay incredibly focused. So I teach from a place of you're on the mat, nobody else matters, you got to do your own thing so that you can learn your body, learn its movement, learn what movement and breath work best for you. So I try, no matter how many people are in the room, to teach a class that is geared for you to step in, step on the mat, and pick the practice up from there for you. So it's not hot. I don't do goats. I mean, they're cute. I have no problem with goats. I just don't think they should be on the mat. Or kittens or puppies. Again, that's a distraction. We live in a world filled, overflowing with distractions. You're getting on the mat, no matter what type of practice it is an opportunity for you to give up the distraction. So that's how I teach.
So are your classes, are they the handstands and back bends you see on TV?
No, I don't do the twisty stuff. Those are advanced postures. And for the most part, if you're athletic and you're young and you're able to do those things, fine. But because you can't do a handstand or a headstand or hold your foot behind your head, that doesn't mean you're not able to do yoga. Yoga is about combining breath and movement in a way that best suits your body. That's called asana, right? And that just means to move at ease and to keep yourself healthy and strong. If you're forcing your body into poses your body wasn't meant to do, then that's not yoga. So no, I generally don't teach what are called inversions, headstand, handstand, plow, things like that in a group setting because they're so far advanced. I will teach them sometimes to private clients, but for the most part, you're never going to find those in my classes.
So what would you say to someone who has never done yoga and is nervous for their first time?
The hard part's actually walking through the door. Once you get in and you roll a mat out, you're fine. The hard part's showing up. It really is. The hard part's getting in the door and realizing once you get on the mat that it's not as hard as you think, because nobody in my classes is going to tell you or sneer at you or look at you and go, she's not doing that right, or he's not doing that right. There is no right. You walked through the door and you got on the mat. You nailed it. I mean, it's you just kind of have to overcome that fear, and that's the hard part. Once you get on the mat, you do what's suitable to you, and I will give you as much instruction as I can. But it's not the nervousness comes. I go take classes, and it's a new instructor, somebody I don't know. I'm a little nervous because I have my own physical limitations, right? And you don't want to think, oh, everybody's judging me. We live in a culture where we feel like that everybody's judging us. There are no judges in my classes. They learn pretty quickly if they're judges, if they're all judgy, this is not the class for them and they don't come back. Sorry.
And I will add to that, I'm a person that has cerebral palsy. And this has been a really wonderful, opening, welcoming studio for me. I never get anything but encouragement, especially from Cheryl and from other participants. I walked in today and I hadn't been in studio for a minute because I had been a little under the weather, and everybody was like, oh yay, Rebecca's here, we're so happy to see you. So that was really wonderful and welcoming. So I can attest to the fact that even if you have any disabilities or body modifications that you might need for poses, that Cheryl will definitely help you out there.
Yeah, well, I do try. I have a 35-year-old bag of tricks. So, and that's another thing is if something is uncomfortable in your practice, right? Well, no matter what we're doing, and it may look like the simplest stuff, right? Standing in mountain pose or child's pose. We teach child's pose like it's the simplest thing and everyone should be able to do it. And it's anything but simple. And lots of people can't do it. So if you're uncomfortable in a posture or a movement sequence, you have to tell me. A lot of times I can't see it. I can sometimes, but a lot of times I don't know it if you don't tell me. And then once you tell me, you know, you're off and running, because I can give you a lot of different ways. We use props, blocks, blankets, bolsters, straps, the whole 9 yards, so that you can get comfortable, so that you can move with ease, and then you get stronger, and then you get more flexible, and then the body relaxes. You know, you have to tell me. So, what's next?
The other thing that I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how you teach in 3 levels, the poses in 3 levels.
Sometimes it's more than that, but definitely we tend to think in terms of 3s. At least I do. So what I usually do is I'll teach a base, a foundation. You know, everybody knows what bridge pose looks like. You lay on your back, knees are bent, and you're lifting your hips and lowering your hips and lifting your hips and lowering your hips. So for different physical abilities, I might just teach the base, just float the hips up a little, bring them back down. Level 2 might be pull the arms in and really lift the chest a little bit and the ribs as the hips come up. Level 3 might be take 1 foot off the floor as the hips come up. But we also can say maybe none of those really work for you. So we'll put blocks under the feet to elevate the knees so that the hips can float more freely. What's another pose that I teach in 3s? I mean, sometimes it just comes out that way. So what's one that you think of as 3s?
One of the ones that I like when we think of as 3s is when we're up on our knees doing camel prep.
Oh yeah.
And so we do, you know, straight up waterfalls and down, but then maybe on the next one,
you can take the arms and extend them long and away. That would be a little more challenging. But maybe you come up with the hands close, right? And you take the arms out. Level 3 would be the arms stay out the whole time, because that's more work on the deep core. So you have opportunities to adjust accordingly, right?
Right. And for example, with the camel prep, I tend to stay at level 1.
Yeah.
So I start with the level 1, and then some of the other people will move on and do level 2, but I just stick with level 1 for sense of balance and stability.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people don't do, shouldn't do the arms extended because maybe they have low back issues or hip issues, and that just doesn't suit them. I don't teach in levels like one level's better than the other. If a level hurts, it's not a good level. You know, and maybe I'm making that a little too simple, but to me, if it hurts, don't do it. If it hurts, one of the things that yoga teaches us is to discern, okay? So if you've been in chronic pain, or you've been, you know, struggling with painful movement, right? Maybe it's arthritis, maybe it's a particular ailment, or you've had surgeries or something. If you're dealing with chronic pain, everything hurts. You have a harder time discerning, is what I'm feeling pain that is going to cause more tissue damage? Or is what I'm feeling the muscles working in a way that might benefit me, or working too hard, right? Or maybe I need to adjust my range of motion so that I can continue to move and eventually take the arm up, right? Eventually take the leg up, or whatever. So we have to discern. Yoga teaches us to discern what is pain that is causing more tissue damage, and what is the sensation we really aren't comfortable with. We have to ask ourselves, why are we uncomfortable? Is there fear of that movement because we have an injury there? Fear of making it worse, or fear of it hurting? And that's perfectly okay. Yoga teaches us to stop, rest, discern, move within a range of motion, and retrain the brain and the body to move pain-free. It can happen.
So we had some other questions that were just basic questions, like what do you wear? What do you bring?
Oh yeah, wear whatever's comfortable. Old school, you know, just leggings are fine. Some people come in sweatpants. If you're gonna wear shorts, make them basketball shorts so that they are long. Please don't come in short shorts. If you have tops that are really loose, wear a cami, one of those nice snug camis, or a t-shirt under it, because you're gonna go upside down a little bit in some things and it's gonna end up maybe overhead. But you wanna be able to move freely. Also dress in layers, because you may come in and you may start off and you're cool, so you might want sleeves and socks on to begin with, but you can peel those layers off as your body gets warm. And then when you go to lay down in Shavasana, or the stretching at the end, or the meditation at the end, you can put those layers back on, because you don't ever really want to get cold. So just whatever's comfortable.
Right. And I had some people asking, is this something that you could do from a chair?
You can. I have chairs in here, but not everything. Again, if you're coming to a class setting, you can use a chair to help you get up and down from the floor. You can use a chair for some things, but if you really need a chair for all of it, then that might mean that you and I need to spend a little time, just the two of us, so that I can show you how to use the chair in a class setting, right? If you come in and there's 10 people in here and you're doing everything from the chair, I will do my absolute best to teach you, but I also have 9 other people in the room that might need help. So maybe the idea here is to just do a few sessions privately, so that I can show you how to use a chair in a group setting. And I have people that do that. I have people that Zoom from home because they're more comfortable at home using a chair. But we got together here first, showed them how to use the chair, showed them how to use the modifications that the chair lets you do, and then they do that from home. So.
I do want to touch briefly on our Zoom classes.
Okay.
We do the Zoom classes on Monday and Wednesdays is yoga. On Fridays we do Pilates that we Zoom. And I host the Zooms in that I'll get you into the room, I'll get you settled in and muted, make sure you can hear everything and that everything is working. And then I'll mute everyone and spotlight Cheryl, and so you can see her full screen on whatever device you're using, and you can have the best experience. And that way, if you're nervous about someone seeing you trying it new, that's a great way to get started.
It's true.
Cheryl is a great way, she's great about helping you figure out what you need and what will work best for you. So if you could maybe get with her before the Zooms from home, that would even be better.
If you're really, really new to yoga practice, those 3 classes are gentle and pretty straightforward. But if you've got an injury, or you have had surgeries, or you're older, or you have arthritis, let's talk a minute. Let's maybe do some private sessions. They cost you a little bit more, but it's worth it in the long run, because you'll have a base, so that when you're doing this from home, I can't see you. You're a little postage stamp on my screen. And the more people there are, the less I can see you. So let's get together. If you're brand new, if you've been doing yoga, or maybe you've done it in the past, you're just coming back to doing it, then you probably have a base already in place. But if you've never done it, it might be a good idea to do a private session, or come in and do a couple of classes and then do the practice at home.
And our last question that we have is kind of a morphic question about yoga. Is it exercise? Is it stretching? Is it a spiritual practice? What is yoga?
Oh gosh, do we have that much time? Yes, the answer is yes. It is all those things. So in a nutshell, yoga is a practice that has been going on for thousands of years. It depends on which research body you talk to, but it's minimum 5,000 years old. It can go back, there's some evidence it goes back as far as 7,000 years. So Patanjali was a gentleman. We don't know if he was one man, or if that was the name they put on this particular compiling of yoga stuff. When all he did, we assume it was a guy, so we talk about him like he was a guy. Patanjali compiled a lot of information about yoga, and this was about 2,500 to 3,000 years ago, so quite some time. And he compiled it into what is known as the Yoga Sutras. The Yoga Sutras talk about a practice that allows you to deeply relax, to deeply meditate, to quiet the fluctuations of the mind, to move freely, to get in touch with yourself so that your spiritual practice, who you are spiritually, can evolve. Spirituality has nothing to do with religion at all. It is its own thing. Religion is the idea of people searching for God. Yoga allows you to, as its philosophy, to simply embrace who you are so that you can go find God in your own way, if that's what you're into it for. So it's spiritually, it allows us to become better servants of ourselves, of our relationships, things like that, because we're quieter, we're calmer, we're more at ease with who we are, right? So your spiritual practice can then become part of your religious experience if you do use it as a religious experience. Asana is what we call the movement. So yes, it is exercise, but it's exercise that allows us again to kind of tap into our spiritual selves, right? Because we marry breath and movement and the central nervous system and the brain, the mind, body, spirit experience, as opposed to just lifting weights. I have nothing against lifting weights. I've been doing that for years too. So, but the yoga is a complete package.
That's most of the questions you've answered for us.
Okay. I can get chatty.
So we love it. We love to hear it. That's why we're here.
Well, I hope that you will, tell me what poses you need help with. Tell me what questions you have about a particular aspect of yoga or movement. And we're here, we're going to have fun with this vlog, whatever. And we're probably going to try and do one a month. We talked about trying to do one a month. They'll be on YouTube, but they'll also be on the Facebook and Instagram. So let us know what you want to hear us talk about, and we will do that. It'll be fun. Anything else, Miss Rebecca?
No, that's it. Just join us. It's a wonderful place that is unlike any other, and I think that you could really find a home here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste, everyone.